If you're a new Zelda fan and your first Zelda game was Breath of the Wild, get Skyward Sword HD. If you're a Zelda veteran and for some reason you missed out on playing Skyward Sword on the Wii, get Skyward Sword HD. If you're a person that has been told that Skyward Sword HD is a bad, overpriced port that does the bare minimum in terms of remastering and is not worth the $60, get Skyward Sword HD. Skyward Sword is the first chronological Zelda game, meaning that it's the very first in the timeline, even before the Kingdom of Hyrule was established. In fact, walking on the earth was unheard of, everybody lived in the skies in an establishment known as Skyloft. For those new Zelda fans, particularly those whose first game was Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword will take some getting used to, especially the motion controls. It plays like a traditional Zelda game, and Breath of the Wild was the most untraditional Zelda game you could get. Yes, you will see similarities like being able to paraglide straight down, climb on certain walls, and having a stamina bar that cannot be upgraded. But it's very linear. Very linear. But what does that mean? Well, that's self-explanatory. A linear game is a game with story elements that the player proceeds through in a linear fashion. In Breath of the Wild, the deceased king of Hyrule tells you to seek Impa in Kakariko village, but if you wanted to, you could fuck off and do some shrines. You could fuck off and find some guardians and Linos. You could fuck off and find the Master Sword and die because you don't have sufficient hearts. Hell, you could even fuck off and head to Hyrule Castle and take on Ganon wearing a dusty ass shirt and some old trousers. My point is, you can do whatever you want in any order you want to do it in before your final task, which is defeating Ganon. In Skyward Sword, everything is in order. You do one thing and you gotta do what the game wants you to do next in order to progress the story. You have to follow its order. And that's not particularly a bad thing, because linear games often have the best storytelling. Skyward Sword, in my opinion, has the best story in any Zelda game. And I know that many will disagree with me and say that that award belongs to Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, but Skyward Sword feels much more genuine, especially with its characters, emotion, setting, music. Link actually feels like his own character in this game. He feels human. He emotes a lot. And that makes him a much more likable character compared to his other incarnations. But I digress, back to the story. It only makes sense that I think Skyward Sword has the best story because it's a story that describes how everything in the Zelda series came to be. Have you ever been curious about how the Triforce was created? Skyward Sword tells you. Have you ever wondered how Ganon came to be? Skyward Sword tells you. Have you ever wondered about the origins of the Master Sword? Skyward Sword tells you. Have you ever wondered how Link became the legendary hero and inherited the spirit of the hero? Skyward Sword tells you. Have you ever wondered why the series is called The Legend of Zelda? Well, Skyward Sword tells you. Skyward Sword is a really good starting point for new Zelda fans. A really, really good starting point. Like I said earlier, it's going to take some getting used to, but once you do get used to the game's controls, you will fall in love with this game. There's so much I want to say, but I don't want to spoil the story, so feel free to talk about your favorite parts of the game in the comments below once you've completed it. Just remember to mark your comment as a spoiler if you don't want to ruin parts of the game for people that haven't played yet. As of the making of this video, Skyward Sword HD is doing very well in terms of sales, and that makes me really happy. It makes me happy seeing people talk about the game. It makes me happy seeing people share their favorite moments. It makes me happy seeing people find locations in Skyward Sword that were in Breath of the Wild. It makes me happy seeing people find references, secrets, Easter eggs. It just makes me happy seeing people enjoy Zelda. And if you are a new Zelda fan, be sure to buy Skyward Sword HD. It's for your own good, trust me. You will not regret it. And if you don't, then it's your loss.